Here's what you missed on the last episode of No Hype.
Do you want to save this for the interview?
But maybe some point I'll do the intro.
We went to somebody in Japan that was making the toys, and we say, all right, we want to do this for the magazine.
How did Super 7 start? Like, how did you?
I want Hedera the Smog Monster, and they're like, nobody wants Hedera. The thing I want most is the unreleased Alien figures from 1979.
It just broke everything trying to get this.
I'm trying to work my way through Wu-Tang.
How did you get into hip hop? Around what time did you get into hip hop? Around your punk days?
You know, it's by nature of being born I was born in 71, so I'm 10, 11, 12, 13, and 81, 82, 83 kind of thing. Like, as hip hop is having its little flashes into the mainstream, we're hearing it and we think it's cool, but we don't have a context for it. Like, using the same thing, like, if you talk about me getting into punk rock, diving into the deep end of the well, like, that's 1984 when I'm 13 years old, right? That's when I start going into the deep end. But leading up to that, it'd be like, oh, what's this thing? The song from The Clash is pretty cool, but I don't have context. The song from Bow Wow Wow is really cool. I don't have context. This song from PIL, 1981, like right after the sex, actually, is it 80 when the first PIL record? So somebody's going to cross-check me on that. I'm like, this is cool. And I see Wendy O. Williams from the Plasmatics. I'm a little bit scared by it, but I'm aware of it and I'm intrigued by it. But I'm too young to know where to go to find any more or anything else. So in hip hop, it's sort of the same way. It is Rapper's Delight. Like, I think I had that on a tape along with Daryl Hall and John Oates and stuff when I was like, 9. Taped off the radio with 2 recorders, where you put one boombox next to the next one and hit record off the radio. Yeah,
absolutely.
This right here is Rapper's Delight single on 8-track, sealed.
Crazy. On 8-track?
On 8-track. This is super, super rare. This is before any Sugar Hill Records logos. I don't even know if they were if they had the logo or everything developed. This is a 79 release when everything came out in 1980 officially. So
that is so crazy.
Yeah.
Did you know that they were like, well, don't press a record, make it an 8-track so people can put it in their car.
Yeah. 100%. So this came out around the same time as the single came out in vinyl. But I in my mind, the way I imagine them releasing it is like, all right, we need to get something out there. Just throw this out. This has to happen, and this is how it happens. We'll do.
I have to say that is genuinely amazing. Not that you don't know that, but it's genuinely amazing.
I got so excited when I found it on eBay. I found it on eBay and I paid $37 for it.
Oh, and you're like, this thing's worth. I would never sell it.
Yeah, no, it's worth, to me, it's like priceless because it just what it means,
That's amazing. So back to your question. So Rapper's Delight, okay, I know that, even the follow-on, Apache, mm-hmm. I know that. Roxanne starts coming out. That was the same thing. I was talking about this, like, stuff that we would get back then. It's like, because these are here not for you, but they were here for something else I was doing. But it's like, you're getting this stuff, right? We're getting the full color sleeves, right? And you're like, this is cool, but I don't have no context yet. And then Run DMC starts happening. And we're talking about Run DMC when it's Rockbox. And we're like, oh my God, it's got Larry Bud Melman in the video. And we're like, this is the guy from David Letterman. This is so crazy, And you're like, it's cool and I like it, but I'm not aware of hip hop in a broader spectrum. I'm still too young and I don't have exposure. And so it's not really for me until you sort of have that. I think for me, being in Texas or being in Florida or whatever, it's not really till hip hop hits MTV. And that is straight up like Run DMC Raising Hell and BC Boys License to Ill. All of a sudden, you cannot escape it. It is everywhere. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, this is a thing. What else is there? Oh, there's Slick Rick. There's Boogie Down Productions. There's Ice-T, Public Enemy. So like you start to get into it. And then really the turning point becomes when It Takes a Nation of Millions comes out. Because like Yo Brum Rush the Show is good, but it's not It Takes a Nation of Millions. Like you, all of a sudden, you put on It Takes a Nation of Millions, and I was like, this is punk rock.
Yeah.
This is punk as hell. And it is so aggressive, and it is so loud, and it is so political. I'm like, this is the greatest record I've ever heard. And then you just go crazy. Give me everything. Give anything I can find.
Yeah.
And then ironically, my second favorite becomes EPMD, which is the, much more slower and funkier,
That'd be dope. An EPMD set. That'd be very dope.
Trust me, I've asked. You kidding? The Green-Eyed Bandit, Eric Parrish? That'd be awesome.
And they said no?
It kind of went to like, it's that same thing where it's like, I know a guy, I can call him. All right, let's see. And then it just becomes a game of telephone and falls apart because it's never, you almost need a more official intro to people, because if it's just a dude coming through a friend, hey, I got a guy that I know that can make a thing. Even if it's like, hey, look at this company and look at their website, it just doesn't feel real. And a lot of these guys don't really have managers properly where you can be like, hey, here's a contract, here's a minimum guarantee, here's an advance, and here's a line plan. Like when it's still coming through their friend that they know or somebody's cousin, it just never feels real. And it's just really hard to get over the finish line.
They need somebody to champion for it. They need some. I'm gonna champion for it.
Yeah, well, there's quite a few guys that have been helping us championing it, but then you sort of run into this thing where either people are not interested or they don't understand, or they've been burned so many times that they're like, unless it's $100,000, I don't want to do it.
Right,
like,
right.
Well, it ain't 100,000. This ain't it. Nobody's buying cars and houses off this stuff. Like,
right, right.
The way I always describe it is like we win games by hitting singles.
Yeah.
We're not hitting triples and home runs. Like,
right. You have to kind of look at the bigger picture, especially if you're an artist. I feel like if you're an artist and you're doing a lot of merch and a lot of releases, this is a fragment of like your gross revenue for the year. This just adds, it could either take you over the top or not be there. And, you're just turning down a bunch of those little things, which could all be big things at the end of the day, but I guess that's boring stuff. Nobody wants to hear that.
See, there you got the sales pitch down. Then that's part of it. It's like, it's good. It's not like I'm saying here's $5. Like there's real money there, but it's also not $100,000 money,
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get you. I know you said she actually said you only had 45 minutes. So
yeah, no, I'm good. I'm good.
Okay. So do you have any, man, there's so, I could honestly just talk to you about Super 7 stuff like all day.
Go wherever you want to go.
What about personal grails? Like, do you have a personal grail at this point? Because I know you've from what you've told me with the magazine, I can only assume you've been to Japan many times.
I wrote a travel guide to Japan.
So
2 volumes of it, actually. We're talking about a travel guide in like 2004 to Japan, 2005. I wrote 2 versions of that. There's a Tokyo Underground 1 and Tokyo Underground 2. And it was like, here's all the toy stores in Tokyo, sneaker shops, cool hipster stores, record stores. Like, here's the cool stuff to go do.
So
I don't tell you where any of the parks are, any of the shrines, nothing.
Well, because of that and how long you've been collecting, is there any like, white whale, so to say, or like that you haven't gotten, or at this point it's almost
pieces that I haven't gotten, because there's always the next, it's like people that climb mountains. There's always the next summit, right? Mm-hmm. So there's always something that you're, as a diehard collector, there's always something that you're looking for. As far as toys specifically, really the only thing I don't have, and it's going to be, hold on, is, a J-tail mold version of the Marathon Godzilla. Now, I technically have rarer versions of that Godzilla in the light green vinyl and some of this other stuff. But for whatever reason, a J-tail's never found its way to me. And it's always so preposterously expensive that even if it showed up, I'm not sure I'd be willing to pay what it's worth. But it's not so much grails as I still have sort of a hit list of about 10 vinyls that I'm really looking for. And the reality is, if I get one of those a year, I'm doing really good.
Right.
There's a lot of other little stuff that I need, sort of checklist stuff, but it's like, okay, I need a bubble blower Gamora. Like there's a handful that exist, and the only people that care about them are people like me that have everything else. And so you just kind of have to be patient and wait. So on the Japanese vinyl side, there's a few things, but it's pretty low key. Then there's all the skateboard stuff. I've managed to get most everything I was looking for on the skateboard side. My big focus right now is just regional skate zines from the 80s, like the stuff that I worked on.
Yeah.
Because, and I've moved sort of out of collecting it as almost more of an archivist at this point. And the same thing, like main skateboarding doesn't, it blows up a couple times, but it really doesn't mainstream till the late 90s. Till it becomes X Games, Tony Hawk doing the 900. That's when it mainstreams. What I was going to say, what I am doing really with that really is trying to buy up all the photocopied regional skate scenes that I can find, because it's really this, like, you can find Thrasher, but the documentation of how the subculture exists in pockets across the country, that's only defined by these little black and white photocopy zines that they may have only made 50 copies of, 25 copies of, and given out. So I'm almost in this archivist state with that. So if you think about, like, if you even go back to making the magazine about the toys, we were really doing archival work back then.
That's kind of like exactly kind of what I've been doing. I mean, I've been picking up these Beastie Boys floppy disks that anytime, there's a couple of different ones. And it's funny, I forgot the guy's name. When I posted this, my buddy Apathy, really super dope rapper, was one time managed by this guy who's like the guy who created those floppy disks. And when Beastie Boys had like this concert, they brought out all of these Mac computers, and it was part of the concert. They had like this installation there, and it was like this video game or something. I mean, like some really cutting edge shit. And that guy, actually, I was able to talk to him for like an hour on WhatsApp. Like he's like a marketing exec at Louis Vuitton or the LVMH company or whatever now. Has nothing to do with hip hop, but he was like so excited to like see that somebody remembered this stuff. And I'm not gonna lie, I still want to get some sort of a Mac to just pop this in and see what it is. I know one of them is a screensaver. The other one is supposedly like a CompuServe or something that's just, that like takes you to their website or whatever. But I just like to just get them going.
But like, because I know you're a big tape guy, but how like over the last, I've seen it in the last couple of years, it's probably been longer than that, like where there has been this massive crush to find, 90s and early 2000s mixtapes, like bought on the corner of New York mixtapes. Those guys would have the cases with just hundreds of tapes, because everybody's like, that was a moment, but this is the documentation of this part of the culture that only exists here.
Yeah.
And that music hasn't, I'm sure people have uploaded them all at this point, but it's still like, all of a sudden that collective group has come back in and said, holy moly, this mixtape thing is actually one of the most important parts of hip hop history. And we've got to get as much of it as we can. That's sort of the way I feel about 80s black and white photocopied regional skate zines. Like this is the birth of it expanding through the country. And like, there's 15 guys that skated in Duluth and they made 2 issues of a photocopy magazine. Like all of these little threads that eventually grow.
And how are you just eBaying those stuff? Because I'm sure it's hard to find that in the wild.
It's impossible to find. And yes, I'm on eBay with it. And if you start buying it up under me, I'm gonna get mad. Not you. I'm talking to anybody watching this. Don't fight my shit. Like
I will
get mine.
I won't, man. Yeah.
Because I gotta say, I fucking love eBay, man. eBay has been the best place to find some of this stuff. When I was touring a lot, I was able to like just go to thrift stores and flea markets in different cities. But like right around 2020, I just stopped. I just put a cold, hard stop on everything. And I haven't toured since. And I really haven't been going to flea markets since.
That's the flea market. It's not the same as it was, but the flea market is the thing I miss the most. There's in San Francisco, much like New York, it's too expensive. So there's one that happens once a month. There's a couple other small ones, but the big one happens once a month at Alameda. And it takes 4 hours to go through. And it's not a true flea market in that it's sort of like like everybody there is a little bit more polished, but you can find, so I'm not sorting through like people selling VHS tapes and diapers that fell off the back of a truck or wrenches, like it's people there to sell stuff, but you find some of the most amazing stuff pops up there at great prices. But that's the thing where you can go find the thing that somebody else doesn't want that's valuable. Like you can't really go record shopping anymore because everybody has Discogs, right?
Yeah.
Can't really, but like if you were to go out there and you were to walk up to a booth, like I remember I bought it, I gave it to Daniel that works, he's the manager of our store. A couple of years ago, I went and this guy had a Bismarcky Just a Friend die cut album promo standee.
Wow.
And I'm just like, how much? And it was like $2. I'm like, yeah, I'm just like, yeah, because I can't Discogs this. I don't, whatever. It's just stuff. But that's the thing. Like you find that and you're like, if I went looking for this, it would take me a decade to find it.
Oh, for sure. I have things that are like search alerts on eBay, OfferUp, Facebook Marketplace for like a bunch of stuff, that I'm just waiting for them to pop up.
Yeah, sooner or later it'll pop. But that's the thing. So in here drives me crazy. Like when I lived in Portland and when I lived in Texas, like you could go to flea markets every weekend if you wanted to. You can't do that here. There's one that happens. Now, the quality is so good that you're fine. But that's the thing is like some of the flea market hunting has been, and same thing, resale, like you're not going to find any record. Anything that shows up, they've checked it on Discogs before it's ever gone out on the floor. You're not going to find anything.
So here we have, in South Florida, there's a swap shop. You said you were in Florida for a little bit. Did you say you lived in Florida?
My dad was in the military, so I was in MacDill in Tampa. So I was in Tampa from mid 87 to summer of 1990.
Okay.
Well, in South Florida, they have the swap shop. And back in the day, they used to have a circus inside of the swap shop. And at night, it turns into a drive-in theater. In fact, Steve-O got his first start at the swap shop, and he got fired for stealing elephant shit for some prank or something back in the day. Because they literally had a circus in the swap shop. And but it's a huge outdoor parking lot that could take 3 to 4 hours to comb through. And I used to go there religiously. My mom used to sell stuff there all the time. I used to go there, and the stuff that I would find, man, I'm talking about, I walked into the swap shop one day and I found a leather MCM hat from the 80s. And I didn't buy it because they wanted $20 for it in 2006. And I was so mad because I'm so used to buying stuff at the swap shop for $1. I had the money.
You're not willing to do it because of where you are, even though it was worth so much more.
Man, I bought so many Nintendo games, NES systems back, like nobody wanted them. They were giving them away. I have Magnavox Odyssey 2 still in the box. I have a
all of that. Like when I started collecting toys again in 91, it was the same thing. Like the only places you could go were flea markets. So we were in San Antonio at that time. And there was a flea market that existed there was a strip mall that had completely gone out of business, the whole thing, like 2 city blocks long. And they would set up this flea market in the back of it. And it was that same thing. Like you would go and it'd be like, they want $0.25 for the Star Wars figure. Okay. If they want $1, I'm not paying $1. I'm at the flea market.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Like you're just, in context.
I'm so mad.
I'm $1.
Yeah. It's like, $20.
Yeah. And you would find the craziest stuff, but also at the same time, there was only so much money I had at that time too. So even it was always tricky, but yeah, the thing is like that MCM hat though, I did the same thing with a Bullmark vinyl that I found in the wild. And this dude wanted $50 for it. I'm like, I am at a junk store in Tualatin. Like I'm not giving you $50 for this. I got home, after a day of wandering around all these antique stores and whatever. I'm like, what are you doing? And I called back up the next day and the dealer had pulled out after I haggled with him on the phone. The dealer just left. He was like, I'm tired of this shit. And I didn't get it. You make that mistake one time. And then from that point on, I don't care. Even if it's $5 more than I want to pay, if I haven't seen that in I don't know how long, just pay the man the money. Just get it. Yeah. So the same thing. That's your MCM hat story. Now, doesn't matter. I just bite your lip and pay the man the money.
Do you watch American Pickers?
I do. I love watching it, except that I know it's all fake.
Really?
Let me put it to you this way. They've got the shot from the house as the van pulls up. Of course it is. You don't walk up to somebody's house and they just magically have this original, some of the digging is real, but
yes,
they already,
no, you're right.
Somebody has gone ahead of time and said, okay, we know this is here for you to find. Or they walk into somebody's like, oh yeah, I've got this collection of there was one where it was like, he had original Sid Mead paintings. And I'm like, that's not just some dude's house you rolled up on. Give me a break. Original Sid Mead paintings.
I remember that one.
Like for real, those are $50,000, $100,000 paintings. Like, come on. But I'll watch it nonstop. I love it.
There's a saying that Frank used to say was like, the time to buy it is now. If you haven't seen it before, the time to buy it is now.
That the hardest part about that phrase is you have to have been doing it for a while, because then when you're just starting, you haven't seen anything. So you get kind of monkeyed around a bit. But yeah, if you've been collecting something for 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, and you haven't seen it before, you just, okay, I don't know. But if I haven't seen it in 30 years, you pay the man the money. Or pay the lady the money. I don't want to be that guy. Pay the person the money.
Pay whoever the money.
Exactly.
Pay whoever the money, yeah.
You'll always find a way to make some money. You'll never find that thing again.
What was your toy of choice growing up?
Well, it's sort of like I said, my dad was in the military, so we moved every 3 years. So every 3 years, you get rid of basically all your stuff because you got to get down in weight to move. So very little of what I grew up with, I have. Almost none of the toys. But if we talk about the memories of it, the most I remember is, sort of that formative 77, 78, 79, 7, 8, 9 years old, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. And we were living in Bitburg, Germany, in an Air Force base in Germany. And my mom worked at the on-base thrift shop. So when everybody was leaving, they would take their stuff there. So we had scads of toys. And it would be, I remember we had this big mountain play set, which I think is one of the Guns of Navarone play sets, like Mark's play sets. And we had that. I had the 12-inch G.I. Joes. I had Mego Planet of the Apes figures, and I had Star Wars figures that we were buying new. And we're playing with that all together.
Did you was there any of that stuff that you were able to take with you at any point? The Star Wars stuff that you couldn't let go of?
Even when we left Germany, I had to get rid of my comic books. So all that I have left, what I have left from when I was a kid, is I have a Tron magazine that folds out into a poster, if you remember those. I
Yeah.
have that. And I have a thing, Christmas of 1978. My uncle gave me a box of a box of Topps baseball cards. Because, you know, grew up collecting baseball cards. And I have like 8 cards from when I was from that exact box. And I have the Reggie Jackson, because that was the card. And I mean, the corners they're not, calling them round would be an understatement. Like, it is like, and it's got all sorts of holes in the side from all the rubber bands and stuff I put on. Like, it is annihilated. These cards are annihilated, but these are the ones I started. And that's sort of the first thing I ever collected. Baseball
That's
cards.
dope. Have you ever
seen the Tron poster? Have you ever thought about framing it?
The one from when I was a kid?
Yeah.
No, because the poster wasn't as cool as reading the magazine and folding it open and reading the articles.
Because the reason I say that, because there's this super incredible Instagram page of these people who restore posters. Have you seen?
Oh yeah, all the poster restorers. Fourth Cone's the new hot one right now.
Yeah.
There's like 4 or 5 of them, and it's so satisfying to watch. What I don't like though, I love watching it where they're spraying it down, getting the acid out, squeegeeing and everything. What I don't understand though is when they start doing the restoration and they start going in there and they're with the pencil and the paintbrushes filling in all the fold lines. I'm like, wait, now you're, as a person that collects original stuff, like in any other scenario, you're fucking it up. Like if you did that to a painting, like the museum would crap on it.
Museums
will take off varnish and clean things, but they don't put paint back on it.
Well,
if you were talking about toys, you couldn't.
Well, okay, so I see. So this is where like I feel like, you know what, I do love the fact that they do that, because I have a poster that means a lot to me. I walked into a comic store one day with my mom and I drove her crazy. She bought me this. Remember those X-Men covers that came like split up and you could put them together?
The 4 of them, the Jim Lee covers.
Yeah. So there was the full poster signed by Jim Lee and 2 other artists in pencil. I got it framed immediately. I was like 13, maybe 12. I can't even remember when. For some reason, that picture ended up under my mom's bed. I grabbed it one day and it had been cracked for a long time and also chipped a piece of the color off of that. Because I love that poster so much, would pay to have it
restored and colored in. You know, it's not a value thing for me.
You're paying for something for you, though.
Yeah.
Not for resale.
But I think the people restoring that are probably people who wanted to see it, you know, whole together.
Somewhat.
You know.
A lot of it is people reselling it. Like Fourth Cone just did one where they're showing off like a 54 Godzilla and some other stuff that they were touching up. And I'm like, it's a 54. Like, leave it as it is. There's a funny story with that. At this, you know, we see like, you know, here you see some of the posters and stuff, right?
Yeah.
At the store, we always have framed posters up everywhere. People can buy them, and we have extra posters in the thing. Going back to my college days, in Denton, Texas, at the downtown mini all, because the M on the mall had fallen off, so we called it the mini all. I had found, so you're talking, this is 1993, 1992. I found a Bruce Lee Fists of Fury half sheet, but it had been folded into like 16ths. It had been ripped at some point and it was taped together with wasn't even like brown tape. And then it was ripped up. It was it was so annihilated. Anyway, unfolded it and I framed it floating in glass, annihilated with so
that's
it's like lift off everything. And we put it up in the store and we would get asked 2 or 3 times a day, is that poster for sale? Is that poster for sale? As opposed to the other posters, because you could look at it and see the age and see that it had lived the life.
Yeah.
We eventually sold it. Like some dude paid us an astronomical sum for it. But the point was like those imperfections and that the patina of age in a lot of ways, like that's why it drives me crazy. It's like, no, I want to see that poster looks 50 years old.
I have this Wu-Tang poster from they had this underground tour in 2000. And I went there and they were throwing them out into the crowd. And that poster lived on many walls wherever I went. I was like a nomad. I was from place to place to place. And then
I was in every corner, right?
Holes, got tape on the corners, it's like crusty and, it looks wrinkled even inside there, and I love it. So I get it. The patina of that is 100% like what makes that poster.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like I said, if it was a comic book and it was, the cover was folded and had a crease that had a color break and you touched it up, they'd be like, no, like this is retouched. Like this isn't an original.
Yeah.
Like how, for whatever reason in movie posters, it's okay to repaint these original posters. I'm like, oh my God, I don't get it, but that's just me.
I saw one where they literally didn't just paint. They created a whole bottom quarter that was missing off of the, I think it was a Fantasia one or a Disney one or something. I'm like, holy shit. First,
it looked amazing. And they're technically adept. I'm confused by it.
Yeah, no, I feel you. I get that. I respect that. Unless you personally want it for yourself, but if you're a reseller,
then it's no big deal. Yeah, but like same thing, like the last few fourth cone postings, because same thing, you're like watching them spray it down and put it down and squeegee out, and you see all the acid coming out of it and all the dark. You're like, oh, what's happening? This is amazing. But they're all linking back to this shop, Rare Japanese Posters in the UK. And it's like, yeah, that's now touched up, and we want $45,000 or we want $5,000 for that poster. And I'm just like, okay, yeah, but not, yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I don't get it.
I wonder how much it costs to restore a poster.
It's sort of like there's different levels of it. Usually for all that, it ends up being like, it depends on how much restoration, but it's for you to get it cleaned, get it mounted, get it put onto linen. It's usually like $500 or $600. But if you want the best place to go, and tariffs aside, which we don't even want to talk about tariffs. Right?
Oh my God. I was trying to avoid asking about that.
There's a place, I would say what I recommend every place. There's a guy called Backing to the Future in Canada. That's where we get all of our stuff done. So if you're like, I want to get this put on linen or restored or done anything, Backing to the Future, you can use my promo code. No, I don't have any of that. But Backing to the Future in Canada, we've used them for like a decade.
That's
best prices, really good. It takes a little while simply because they're sort of busy, but they're very affordable. And I think for him, it's more like $300 or $400 to get it done, as opposed to like $500 or $600. So,
you know what? Now that we did say that, how does a company survive now with these potential tariffs? Yeah, man. Like
here's how I'm thinking about it today. Because if you were to take it at face value, you can't. You go out of business.
Well, because Super Plastic just did this announcement.
That was an April Fool's thing, I think.
No, I went on their website and I bought a bunch of shit for 79% off. Like they may just be clearing out the warehouse.
So they said it's not. They went the next day and made posts again, and they're re-updating their website. I don't know if it's true or not. Who knows? But they've said that this is not an April Fool's joke. This is, a thing. So like, that sounds really scary to me. I don't really buy much of their stuff because they don't cater to what I collect really. But they did have a couple things that I did buy at 79% off because it made sense.
I mean, at least for us, what I come back down to is I go, the tariff right now is a variable, right? In January, it was 0%. Beginning of February, it was 10%. The end of February, it was 20%. 4 weeks later, 4.5 weeks later, April 3rd, it's 54%. China just retaliated with 34% this morning. It's probably going to go up again. Like, this is a thing that can't be controlled. And I can't really, I can't say, oh, we got to raise prices. Oh, we got to do this. Like, what's it going to be next week? What's it not going to be next week? I also have to believe that, so much of this country's supply chain is dependent upon manufacturing in China simply because, people don't want to do it. In case of toys, for anybody that's listening, you're like, your Star Wars figures in 78 were made in Hong Kong. Like, this industry has existed overseas for over 50 years. There's no bringing it back because it hasn't been here.
Right.
So all the supply chains, all like where you get your pigments from, where you get your plastic from, where the paper is, all that stuff only exists over there and has only existed. So it's not just me, it's all of these people. Like, it's untenable. Like, are you really just going to drive, 50% of all American companies out of business? No. Are you really going to make everything cost 2 or 3 times what it costs at retail? No. So I have to look at it from a bit more of a 5-year perspective and go, all right, are these tariffs something I have to deal with for 3 months, 6 months, 12 months? All right, then I need to solve that problem. But if my underlying business is still working, then that's what I need to focus on. So in terms of what the tariff is, I mean, it's if we were to take it at face value today, yeah, we have to lay off half of everybody and prices go up astronomically across the board. And then we hope it survives. But I think that's far too, I don't want to say pessimistic of you, but it's just like, well, it's real today, but is that going to be real in a while? And I'm not, it doesn't make any sense. I don't understand it. There's no part of it that it's like the same thing. Like, our main factory in China literally 2 months ago opened up a brand new facility in China that specifically catered to how we make toys.
Wow.
But you can't, even then, even if you wanted to build that factory here, it would take you 2 or 3 years at least to build the factory. But, in the case of making something for Disney, well, the factory has to be certified for labor compliance. But not just the factory, every sub-supplier, every plastics manufacturer has to be certified by Disney. Every paint manufacturer has to be certified by Disney. Every pigment factory, every printing facility. Like, how do you rebuild that supply chain here and do it in a way that's affordable? Like, there's no way. Like, like every reaction figure, there's still somebody painting every single piece of that figure by hand. Like there may be some parts that are tampoed, but it's still spray mask, paint, spray mask, paint, spray mask, paint. If you really, 80 hits of paint, that's got to be touched by a human 80 times. Do you think I can do that in America?
Nah, definitely can't. No, that's crazy. I thought that all the reaction figures were pad printed. I didn't know that.
Oh, pad printing usually is just eyes and sometimes if there's like a logo or something like that. Okay. Everything else is masked and sprayed.
Wow.
Wow, that's crazy. Because the crazy thing is like, I think about that and I'm just like, what is the end game? The end game can't be the same for everybody. To me, it sounds like it would only apply for certain, maybe car manufacturing, because we had that here at one point and we do that here now. But like, you can't do it with everything. We have so much regulations and paying people, and like, it just the figure you'd have to sell those reaction figures if you built everything here for like $1,000 a piece.
The thing is, like, the reason it still works at auto manufacturing levels is you're talking about a product that starts at $30,000 or $40,000.
Right.
So, and a lot of it is automated. Like, every commercial you ever see is the robots doing all the spot welding. It's like, yeah, it's being made here, but the human hand level thing of it, that's why this stuff still gets made in China. Like, if you've ever seen I'm sure in this, anybody that's willing to suffer through an hour and a half of this video too, like, you've seen a photo point of like, oh, here's our factory in China making the toys. And it's this sea of tables with people sitting there. That person is literally doing one paint app over and over all day long. They might paint that arm for 3 days straight. And all I'm doing is painting this. It might be by hand or it might be with a mask. I am painting, this stripe. And I'm laying it out on grids of plastic, trays. Just think about it this way. If you're talking about mass market stuff, like if you're talking about a Hasbro or a Mattel, and they're making 50 or 100,000 of these things.
Wow.
That's still, every paint app is a person touching it. That there's no way to bring that level of manufacturing to the States.
Yeah. Yeah. That's wild.
Even the factory that we work with, and we're a small company, has dorms. And it's not because, people have to live there. It's more like it's too inconvenient for me to take a train home and train back. So I sleep here during the week and work and then go home on the weekends. Because you have to have 500 workers in this factory.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Wow. I never knew that. I think that's super interesting. I don't think anyone would be suffering through any of this. No, I don't think people really know how this stuff is made and what goes behind it, because I really thought it was a pattern.
Even in the custom stuff you guys are making, how long does it take one of those guys to finish all the paint and things that you need to do?
There's 3 of us in the entire company. I do the 3D printing. I clean, I cure, I wash. I have tons of chemicals in my house that I don't want to dispose of irresponsibly. And that's at a small level. So if I do one figure and I do 100 of that figure, that's going to take me about 3 months, from the 3D rendering to the test prints to the paint. My partner is the guy who does all the painting. He lives in the UK, so I'm sending him out to him in the UK. I mean, it's not like
now you're going to have going to have tariffs on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
like you're saying, like it took 3 of us 3 months to make 100 figures.
Yeah.
All right. Now, even with automation, if you got to make 50,000 figures, we're not doing that. How many people do you have to have?
Oh my God. Yeah, no, it's just that you still need a lot of people. Tons of, it's wild.
Yeah. So anyways, I don't know what's going to happen with all the tariffs, but I know that it's not a variable that I can count on, because it's going to change again tomorrow. Right. And I don't know how long it's going to be here. So,
well, I think
figure it out.
I think your attitude and your explanation for your reasoning, I think that's probably the most logical and one that has made the most sense so far that I've heard of other people talking about this situation. But yeah, man, look,
your collection in the background, I see the Mummy Boy.
Yeah, this is funny. So the background used to be all sorts of stuff that we made, and I always make videos in here. And some of our licensors were like, hey, we don't like it when you're doing our product, but our competitors in the back. So I had to change the whole background to just be our mascots. Okay. So it's just Mummy Boy, Bat Boy, Wing Kong. So it's just the Super 7 guys here.
Dope, man. Very dope. And let me ask you, how are those your mascots? Because I know it's hard to launch an original creation when you're doing toy stuff, because I know I have a lot of friends who do toy stuff and they try to do original characters, and it's very tough getting it off the ground. Super 7 is a little bit different. You guys have a big following.
But got a little bit of momentum.
Yeah. How hard is it, to get these characters off the ground?
Well, let me grab the first Mummy Boy. So as somebody will find out in a different part of this video, when we talk about Japanese vinyl,
videos fucking all over the place.
The timeline is all messed up. It's all right. We're gonna edit this together, and it's gonna sound amazing.
It's a multiverse video. You just kind of have to start somewhere.
So what we were doing at that time is in the early. This is 2006, I think. We were making lots and lots and lots of Godzilla toys. And we had the second iteration of the store that we had built. And I liked the idea of making a 1950s mascot for the store. So like old advertising figures, I really like Ready Kilowatt, Bob's Big Boy, all that kind of stuff. And I was like, what would Super 7's mascot be? And I had drawn up this character called Mummy Boy. I did not think that this was going to sell well, because we were selling Godzilla, Ultraman, we're selling monster toys all day long. Monster toys. And, but I didn't care. I just wanted to make this dude. And so we made him. So same thing. You see all the mummy bandages on there.
Yeah.
And everything. And then, the story with the missing arm was like somewhere along the way, he lost his arm and his mind, but he doesn't care. He's just happy to be here. And then to our surprise, we put him out and he sold great. People loved him. And I've got my theories on why. I'm not going to share them all here because a little secret in there, but it just sort of became a thing. And then Mummy Boy just always sells. Anytime I make Mummy Boy, it sells. And so we've been making it for years and years. We've made like 60 in this scale alone, like 60 colors of them.
Wow.
And every time we make them, they just keep going.
But there's probably some serious Mummy Boy collectors out there too. Oh.
See what you did? Oh, that's it. I'm gonna blame you.
Bro, when I went to get the Master P figure, I knocked that over. I don't know if you heard it. So much shit that I'm like, my rapid mic fell. He's missing everything now. I gotta go.
The good news is these things don't break, so it's okay.
Yeah,
but
that's a dope by the way.
It's been an interesting thing. Like you never know. There's been some vinyl characters that we've made where I'm like, oh my god, when this thing comes out, people are going to lose their mind. And then we put it out, and people are like, And then there's stuff that I make that I don't think people are going to care about. And people go crazy. Obviously, there's stuff that does work, but like, even this isn't the best colorway because it fell over. But like, little Carlton here, like we have a whole series of candy characters. There's a soft serve cone. There's an ice cream cone. There's a pie. There's a ice cream sandwich. And it sounds kind of cornball. I was trying to see if one of the others was here, but like. Same color. This one's done in literally Mummy Boy colors.
I love it. I love those. Those are so dope. Those are actually really fresh.
I same thing. Like when we made the first candy ones, I was like, wait, people like these? Okay. Because there's other ones we did. Like there's a character, if you look it up, called Visaghost. If you get bored, you can Google it. I was like, oh, when this thing comes out, that's it. Game over. Here we go. Nope.
So what happens when like something doesn't work out for you guys? It's just you just like mark it down till you get rid of it, or just stays in the warehouse?
Well, sometimes it stays in the warehouse for a while. I think the thing, so going back to what I would tell people, I get asked a lot about what do I do? I want to make a toy. And what I tell people over and over again is make the assume it's not going to sell. And if you're going to have a basement full of them, it better be something you like. Because if you start making something where you're like, well, this is popular and this is popular, so if I make this, then everybody will buy it, but you're not into it and it doesn't work and you got a basement full of them, you're going to hate it. Right. All you're going to do is walk down there and go like, I spent all this money on this thing and nobody bought it and it's just sitting here and it's an albatross. And, I hate it. If you go into the basement and you're like, oh my God, this is the coolest thing. I don't know why anybody bought it, but fuck, it's rad. Okay.
Right. Chances are you're going to
be much more successful.
Wow. Some solid advice.
And it doesn't always work. You never know what'll work. There's plenty of things we've made that didn't work. But the thing is like, you make one thing and if it kind of works, okay, then you get to make the second thing. Maybe that one doesn't work. And okay, you're back to the first thing when you make one again. Right. Then you make two and then, two worked. Well, now I have money for 4, but 4 didn't work. I'll go back to 2. Now I got money for 3. I made 3. All right. Well, that worked. Now I can make 4. Well, I'm going to go back to 3 to make 5. Some of the stuff's just not going to work. And you never know who, what, when, or why on that stuff. Just if you make the stuff you want to have, I have found at least what I believe at this point is there's enough people that grew up with similar points of view and similar backgrounds to me that also would like that thing. But then I know what I'm making because I'm making something that I know I want. When I'm making something where I think this is what somebody wants, I'm guessing. And it's much harder to be right when you're guessing.
Right.
That's my sort of take on it.
Words of wisdom, man. Thank you so much.
Words of wisdom. It's more just like, you know, like the same thing. Like if you're going to make a toy for real, it's expensive.
Yeah. No, I've looked into it. I've looked into it. I've looked into it. You know, that's why I was like, fuck it. I took the literal sense where, well, no one's making it, then I'm going to make it myself. Well, no, literally make it myself. Like, you know, I just literally, and this will probably be out before, but I just literally finished this Chino XL figure. Rest in peace. I literally, you know, my buddy Peter painted it. I have a thermoform machine, and I made the blister bubbles, the inserts, and he signed all of the blister cards, and he got an instrumental, wrote a whole new song on a bunch of this like super like vintage papyrus looking paper, and I cut them up. I made little scrolls of them with his lyrics, and every figure has a scroll of lyrics on it and stuff like that. So yeah, look, we put a lot of work into it, but if I didn't sell 100 of these, I would kind of be heartbroken because I'd want to see people have these. But I wouldn't be mad looking at them because, you know, it means a lot. They're special, you know?
Yeah, and it's the same thing. Like, but also you're going through the details of what you would want.
Right.
And because you pay attention to the details, it comes across as being authentic and genuine, which is the same thing. Like for a lot of what we make, if we just were like phoning it in, you'd be like, what are you doing? Like we could have made an ODB that was very different from the one we made, but it's like, no, that's the one I want.
Yeah,
that's what it's got to be.
The Jay Dilla one, you know, I'm super happy with the Jay Dilla one. I hope that continues to be a
the MF Doom cereal box. Did you get that one?
Of course. Yeah. I not only did I get one from you guys, I bought like 3 of them, you know?
But like same thing, like you have to know to go back and go like, no, the better idea rather than doing that is we got to make a fucking cereal box with the bowl and the spoon.
Are you doing any more MF Doom stuff?
There's some more Doom stuff coming. Danger Doom. Same thing with, Mad Lib.
Quasimodo,
but his house burned down. So, just trying to even get him to focus on a pitch has been tricky because, man, if we make Quasimodo, we sell a lot of figures.
Yeah. That.
But same thing. I think you've probably seen this already, but this is upcoming.
Oh no, I haven't seen that one yet.
That's coming out soon.
Dope.
Ice Cold Andre 3000 and Lucius Left Foot.
Dope. Very, very dope.
That's the one I actually have a sample of here. What else is coming out? Let's see. Daft Punk, Doom, Tribe, De La. There's another Jay Dilla.
I'm going to need that Daft Punk shit for sure.
That was the coolest part because, we've been kind of chasing them forever and it's not really worked out. And then finally they were like, hey, Daft Punk might be interested. And we talked to the guy that helped design the suits and he built the pyramid. Like he's the guy that does all their shit. And we're like, oh, we want to do this. And then he was like, no, I want 3 3/4 Star Wars action figures. That's what I want. Once we do that, then we can talk about everything else. But he was straight up like, I have all these. I love this. This is what, but it's that same thing where you're like, that's really fucking cool. Like the guys from Daft Punk are like, no, I don't want to hear about all this other stuff. I want these reaction figures in this look.
Because those other Daft Punk figures, I've been on the hunt for those for a while.
Yeah, but those are just like, I'm not going to spend that money on that. I can't do it. But no. I definitely want them, like
you and me both.
yeah. But yeah, no, that's dope, man. I'm super hyped for the Daft Punk one. That's cool, man. All right, I think we're gonna have to cut this at some point because I'm like,
we'll go forever. And my wife's like, yo, it's lunchtime.
Yeah, I know it's lunch. It's at past lunchtime. I skipped lunch, so I'm ready.
Funny. There's a couple things here. Like this is funny. Like this is a really funny one. It's not a rare record, I don't think, but it was rare when I found it, and I've never seen another one. But I can go on Discogs and buy them for $10. But this was always funny. Like, I don't know if you're a record guy, so you've probably already seen these. Hold on. Ice-T's first record.
Oh shit! I've never seen that
on Techno Hop Records.
Never seen that.
Okay, this is insane because I was like, I had gotten Ryan Pace, and I was like, what? And I found this used in a bin. Techno Hop Records out of LA. It's 6 a.m. There's no bass on it at all. It's just a keyboard MIDI, just and that's it. What? And it's him just going 6 a.m. police at my door. Fresh Adidas sneaks got the way through the door. And you're like, what is this? It's like, his first record ever. So slow. There's no bass in it at all. And you're like, wow, that's
crazy.
But yeah, it's like, when I was like, this thing has to be the most insane. And you go on Discogs and it's like, no, it's a $10 record.
Only Funko that I like that I think was dope is this one right here. This is the best thing I think that whole company has ever made. I don't hate them or anything like that.
That's the one I've been trying to get forever. The one, my white whale. You want to know my white whale? I want to do clips, Lord willing, in the car with Jesus in the back seat.
Wow, that'd be fire.
Ah, man, that's the one. I've been chasing that one for a while. One of the guys that has helped us out on a bunch was the guy that A&R guy on that record. And it's just that Pusha's so big at this point. Yeah. Like he doesn't even have time to even think about stuff like that.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
But could you imagine, Lord willing?
That'd be wild.
And then you follow it up with them in the all Pyrex outfits.
That's wild.
That would be crazy.
That'd be crazy. There's a lot of
Ice Cube. The funny part is I go straight to I want to make him as America's Most Wanted.
Oh, hell yeah.
There.
Hell yeah. There's this really dope Ice Cube promo item I've been on the hunt for forever. It's the syringe pen. He had a pen that was like a syringe that would look like a syringe for lethal injection. Yeah. Yeah. So if you do a Cube thing, maybe you guys can incorporate some. So I don't know if that's like taboo because it's a syringe or whatever, but
I'm not selling to 5-year-olds.
Well, so then, what about the die cut blister back be the shape of a syringe?
Big syringe for lethal injection.
Yeah, that's fire. That's super fire. I love it.
It's always fun. Yeah, it's like a lot of times, like the more you do that, more cooler it is too.
I love that idea. I think that inspiration, I would have never thought of it. And when I saw it, I'm like, oh, wow, this is fucking genius. This is genius.
For the children.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great, to me, that's a good reason to have an additional wave of, Well,
that was the thing. I was so pumped when we made Shimmy Shimmy Ya, and we made the backing card look like a 1970s blaxploitation film.
Love it. Love that one too.
And I was like, this is fucking awesome.
The one I regret is the Kickstarter one, the one that that I didn't get.
The ODB with the family for the graphic novel.
Yeah, I didn't buy that for some reason.
Do it again sometime because we'll just talk. Well, I'll talk about all the stuff forever.
Yeah, dude. I mean, you're in San Francisco.
Yeah.
And do you go to all the cons and stuff like that, or?
Yeah, I'll be at San Diego. I do the bigger ones. I don't get out to like all the tiny ones, but I do the big ones. But yeah, are you kidding? Of course, I go to San Diego the whole fucking time.
I've never been.
Oh my God, you don't understand. It's not a convention. Like it's the equivalent is because it's so wildly different. The equivalent is no matter what con you've been to, that is a preseason football game. And that is the Super Bowl.
Super Bowl. Okay.
It is so people are like, oh, New York Comic Con's almost the same. I'm like, New York Comic Con is a 10th of what San Diego Comic-Con is.
I gotta go check it out.
It takes over the entire downtown San Diego. It's not just it's fucking insane. You know.
Wow.
If you can ever figure it out, we'll help you get.
Absolutely. Well, look, I'm not going to hold you up anymore, Brian. Thank you so much for giving me your time, nerding out with me for.
Oh yeah,
it's been wonderful. We spoke about so much dope stuff, and I can't wait for people to see this.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. Thank you very much, Lex.
All right, guys. Peace.